Hail to the king, baby.
There are moments when time stands still, when history unfolds, when we are bound by the magnificence of one singular event.
I haven't seen much wrestling or played very many wrestling games since 2011. I've always respected it as a sport and a form of entertainment, but it was from a past version of me before video games were my favorite pastime, even though I've enjoyed video games since I was like 2 or 3 years old. All that to say, I started seeing stuff on AEW a few years ago. It really reminded me of the wrestling entertainment I loved and enjoyed as a kid. The Attitude Era and very beginning of the PG era, I guess. It's kind of hard to determine what era it was when I was a kid, but what I do know is whatever that era was, it was significantly better than what I've seen since then. Which brings us to AEW Fight Forever, which is an insanely refreshing wrestling experience and very reminiscent of the old wrestling days, but that's not the only thing that makes it so entertaining. AEW does remind me a lot of the things I loved about WCW vs. NWO on the PS1, or the Raw 1 and 2 games, Legends Wrestling, all of which were on original Xbox, and the Smackdown vs. Raw games on Xbox 360. But it does set itself apart. Fight Forever has a nice lower budget charm from its absurd violence and the realistic impact to everything that can be felt right there in your living room. It's super easy to pick up and play, pretty challenging to master, but well worth it in the end. It's even made by Yukes, who are actually the people who made those old WCW games and most of the Smackdown vs. Raw series. It took me back and reminded me of those old games, but helped build a foundation for a new interest in wrestling for the first time in a very long time. Not to mention, it became one of the few games my fiance really enjoys playing with me, which helped me forge an even larger connection with it, and my son really enjoys to watch it as well, and that's pretty cool. AEW Fight Forever also happens to be more of an arcade approach to wrestling, and I think that adds to its appeal and pick up and play value for your average person, versus being a realistic simulation, which is a little bit more for a niche audience in my opinion. The blood and the violence is an appealing element, and it has an old school limited customization system for characters, arenas, etc. And that's fine. It's more than enough in my opinion. The very brief entrances are a bit odd, but help you get into the action really quick, and the animations are super fluid, even if it has occasional bugs and glitches, which honestly, who cares? It's a video game. People are way too spoiled these days with these ultra-polished linear adventure games, that when they experience anything with any form of complexity and uncertainty, they can't let go of a single bug here or there in a game where you personally control what's going on. Road to Elite is the story-like mode. It's very low budget, cheesy stuff, kind of reminds me of some of the stuff that you would see in a Yakuza game. But it's entertaining and has some choice and consequence to your wins and losses. Some small details like throwing thumbtacks on the mat and them sticking in your back, or weapon finishers, or even the male referee being a little bit more lenient towards disqualifications than the female ref. You can even fight as the female ref, which is pretty cool, and it has several unlockable wrestlers like Cody Rhodes or Owen Hart. Ultimately, it's insanely fun and worth my time and money, and I think it might be worth yours as well if you're an old school fan of wrestling and enjoy those old school games. It's fun with friends and family, and brings back some nostalgic memories while forging new ones. It has a bright future, and I'm sure updates and DLC will improve it immensely, and a sequel will do nothing but improve in every way. Tell me about your wrestling memories, and I'll see you in the next one.